Hey guys, um, the irony has not escaped me that a lot of you guys came back from being virtual to have in-person classes, and now I am virtual at home quarantined, so we are having virtual classes, so that's super fun. But today we need to talk about GMOs a little bit before we get into the assignments. I'm going to outline those assignments at the end of this video. So right now I just want to talk a little bit about GMOs. There may be a couple of notes that we need to take, but I'm going to go ahead and minimize my face and get into the lecturing. I'm also going to move me over here. There we go. Okay. So, when we left off in class talking about things, we were talking about the Green Revolution and how there were, things that we were employing rather in agriculture that were making yields much better, and it was revolutionizing the agriculture industry, and we were able to produce much more food with less land and da 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 da. So we talked about irrigation and fertilization and oh man, lots of other things that I can't think of right now because I'm bad at my job. But today I want to talk about genetic engineering, okay? And this is one of the aspects that kind of got the Green Revolution started. Norman Borlaug kind of is the father of the Green Revolution because he started purposefully, scientifically tinkering around with GMOs. Um, and I want to make it very clear that genetic engineering is not a new concept. However, the way that we engineer things now is a lot faster, a lot more intimate, I guess, because we're like actually messing with the genes, and it's a lot more specific. So we have always been engineering our environments as humans. My one of my favorite examples is with corn. So this is what corn looks like in the wild, teosinte. This is what you would typically see if you walked into a cornfield in the wild. They don't. It's not really raised in the wild. Um, but we did genetic engineering or artificial selection to get it to the point that we now recognize as corn today. So this is what it started as. This is what it ended as after humans started messing with it. Now that takes, hundreds of years of selectively planting and then finding the fattest teosinte and using that to replant and reharvest, and you kind of progressively work more and more towards that. So we've always been doing genetic engineering. Our agriculture kind of demands it, but the kind of genetic engineering that we do now is a lot more specific. So I also just wanted to highlight my second favorite type of genetic engineering, which is what we have done to dogs. So you know that all dogs started out as wolves, and we started to breed them specifically for certain traits, and that's really what all of the different breeds of dogs are, is, we specifically wanted a trait. So, like, I have an English Shepherd. She's a really good worker dog. She likes to, have a task. She is very smart. She is bred specifically for that job. So that's what all the different breeds of dogs are for, but they all are the same species, which is why you can interbreed them, like over here. So they have a corgi that they have interbred with a retriever to make this hideous, cute little abomination that its legs, guys, its legs are not functional. But the reason that you can do that kind of stuff is because dogs are all the same species of animal, even though they are super, super different visibly. And it is the result of genetic engineering. We have made them look this way because it fits a need. So, um, moving on a little bit. So GMOs, or genetically modified organisms, are really great for crop yields. Okay, so like here I have like this picture showing where they did a control versus their GMO'd tomatoes, where your control started to decay after 20 days and after about 45 days was completely rotten. Your GMO'd tomatoes are not like that. And you would be very hard pressed to find a food in the supermarket that has not been genetically engineered, because this kind of stuff is necessary for the shelf life that a lot of our supermarkets require. If you're not immediately harvesting and canning something, you need it to be able to sit around on a shelf for a long time, and so this is how they get that to happen. So your yield is much, much higher. The quality of product is much, much higher. So you can see that over here. Also, a lot of the focus of GMOs is to pesticide resistance. Excuse me. So I think in the reading it talks about BT corn, I think it's called, which is a gene that is integrated into plants that helps it work and magnify the effects of pesticides, so they work together. So the pesticide is specifically engineered to work with this gene in the plant. So also you have the increased profits. Like obviously if you can guarantee that every plant in your field is going to produce huge, long lasting, maximum quantity, maximum quality product, that's obviously going to be better for your profits. So using GMOs, we've been able to just completely expand the amount of food that we've been able to make in a certain amount of area. However, there are some downsides to GMOs. Some of them are pretty ridiculous, like safety. A lot of people, and it's kind of gone away, thankfully, but whenever I was younger, a lot of people were afraid of GMOs because they were afraid of they're putting this in the corn and what's that gonna do to me? Well, it's not how food works. I eat an apple and I don't inherently take on some of the apple's traits, so that doesn't really make any sense. But a concern with GMOs that does warrant some consideration is the biodiversity aspect. So when we create a GMO, we are essentially specializing this plant to that area. So another thing you can do with GMOs is you can make them grow in areas they're not supposed to. Like a lot of the rice that we send over GMO to like the Middle East or, Asia is growing in climates that rice isn't really supposed to grow in. And we have just created an invasive species to where if that thing gets out of the confines of the farm, we have designed it to where it is going to grow really, really well there. So it can, like we see here, get out of control and it can get pretty bad. So not only can it compete with the things that naturally live there, but it can interbreed with other organisms occasionally and, spread that gene and, it's not great. So the biodiversity aspect of it is kind of concerning. So another concern with genetic engineering is you destroy that natural genetic variation. So a good example of this is with apples. Apples are originally evolved from these nasty little, honestly, they're crab apples, and they're over from nearby Pakistan. That's where apples are indigenous to. They're not supposed to grow here in our climate. But we were able to look at the genome of an apple and find different things inside the genetics of the apple that would allow it to grow in different places and grow different ways. And so if you kind of pull those up to the front, you can essentially genetically engineer a plant without having to splice in new DNA, which is one of the things we're going to talk about in your assignment today. Is sometimes you can just take pufferfish DNA and shove it into corn, and it's unnatural, but if pufferfish have the ability to withstand frost for some reason, you can make corn have that ability by splicing genes in. But you do run the risk of focusing so hard in on taking foreign genes and putting them into this food that you lose a lot of this natural variation. So these are all the things that apples can be, and these are all the things that we have made apples become. But if we just pick the one apple, so like this Macintosh apple right here, and we focus on splicing genes into it, we're going to lose all of this variation because all of these different apples we're no longer selecting for. So overall, over time, your genetic variation is going to decrease because apples with platypus DNA in them, that's not natural variation, okay? So that is a real concern, is, losing that natural genetic variation that you have there. There's a super cool short movie, if you guys are giant nerds like I am. It's called The Botany of Desire, and it goes into how apples work and how they use the natural genetic variation in apples to kind of honestly GMO, but in a less invasive of a way, different traits in an apple. So those were our notes on GMOs. I have a couple of assignments for you guys. First off, this assignment that this video is going to be tagged in has got two things that go with it. One of them is this science-y ABCs of GMOs, where it talks about the science behind how a GMO works, and there's a couple of questions that go with that too. And then also there is this golden rice video. So one of the most contested GMOs probably in the world today is golden rice. So there's a link right here to a really short, it's like 6 minutes, really short news like spot about golden rice. There's a lot of good things about golden rice. There's a lot of bad things about golden rice. So there's a couple questions about that there. So go ahead and do the ABCs of GMOs, talk about how GMOs work, like at the biological level, and then a little bit on golden rice because that will lead you into, the second and probably the more important assignment is this GMO day 2. So you're going to need to, and I believe, let me pause this and double check. Yep, I was right. So you're going to need to tonight, after you watch that golden rice video where, you kind of decide how, or you learn about the different like pros and cons of it, I'm going to need you to tonight go home and think about how you feel about golden rice. Are you on the pro side? Are you on the con side? Find your personal viewpoint on it. And then I have here some pro golden rice info and some no golden rice info. Go through, kind of scan through those, see which ones resonate the most with you, because you're going to write a real short statement about like maybe a paragraph where you are like, I am for golden rice because I think it does this, there's evidence that it does that, da 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 da. Okay, so you're going to state your point and kind of expand upon your point a little bit. It only needs to be a paragraph, so a couple of sentences, 3 or 4 sentences. But that does need to get done tonight because tomorrow when we come back, you are going to argue with one of your classmates about it. So if you were a pro golden rice, I'm going to give you an anti golden rice and you're going to have to refute some points. I want to kind of have a little bit of a debate about this, but since most of us are at home, this is the only way that we're going to do it. So please make sure that you get that done tonight. That way you have something to debate against tomorrow. I'm going to have mine be in there too. And it'll be anonymous as well, so I think that'll make it really fun. But yeah, so please do that tonight. I know I'm overloading you a little bit on a Wednesday, my dudes, but sometimes it just be like that. I would say that this is the more important assignment as opposed to this ABCs one. Make sure you do the golden rice video. That way you know what the heck we're even talking about. So do the video, do your statement paragraph, and then go back and do the ABCs video. So yeah, I'm going to shut up now. I will see you guys. I won't see you until next Tuesday because everything's a nightmare, but I'll talk to you guys sooner than that, okay? Email if you got any questions. Hit me up if you need anything. Bye-bye-bye.